Hey you, yeah, you, the one trying to make a video game. I've got someone here that can help you, and that someone is Intel, which is not a someone, it's a company. But this company, they are going to help you as if they were a somebody and a someone and also a something. Check out software.intel.com/gamedev to find out how Intel is making sure all the innovation in gaming continues to happen on the PC as part of the Intel Game Dev program. Again, that URL is software.intel.com/gamedev. Sign up and start something new. Over. We are half in the office or not in the office at all or traveling for the holiday break sort of thing. And so what we've done is we've gotten together and we're going to decide some Game of the Year categories. We've already done a few this week. This is, I believe, entry 3 in our 5-part series that will culminate with us actually picking the top 10 best games of the year at the end of this week. For this episode, we are going to go over, let me see, I don't even remember now, standout gaming moment, best writing, and best ongoing game. Which I'm not even sure if that's what we're going to call that category, but that's fine for now.
It's a work in progress.
Exactly. With me is the dude just talking there is Mike Minotti. Go ahead and say hi to everybody, Mike.
You can't prove that's me.
And Stephanie Chan. Say hi, Stephanie.
Hello.
How do we prove that it's really Mike, Stephanie? That's where I'm lost.
No one knows.
We got to figure something out.
He's disappeared into his bunker for several years now.
Is Mega Man good?
Hey, yes, it is.
We did it.
Do my moments have to count for games that came out this year? Because just to let everyone know, I beat Mega Man 3 without dying yesterday, and it was a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I saw your tweet. I was very proud of you.
Oh, thank you. I literally opened a bottle of Dom Perignon that I've had laying around for since 1999. So,
man, that's really
those are the occasions I save stuff like that for.
Man, that is okay. So it is definitely Mike Minotti.
Me.
This will be very this will play in court. The judge will accept this as evidence. Mike kind of started us off there with a gaming moment. I think that's the category we could probably start with. I wrote this category award title as standout gaming moment for a specific reason, because it's both about moments in a game and the moments you experience that are personal to you. So, if you accomplish something in a game, like Mike said, beating Mega Man 3 without dying, that counts. But so does a really well-written moment in a game. And we're going to kind of mix these all together and try to pick some top ones. If it's such a personal experience that it only happened to you, we probably won't pick that. But if it's something that we think a lot of people might have felt similarly about, then yeah, that might work. So. Why don't we hop in here? I think I can hear Mike still. Well, he was still typing these away.
I tried to very quietly. I'm good. I got this.
Yeah, he's good. He says he was going to go on the fly. He's entering some right now, but I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to start with one of mine just to kick us off. Let me start with maybe my favorite one. Getting my first chicken dinner in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. I really like good stories in games, and I like writing some of the time. It has to be very, very good. There is a game that I put a couple of moments from, Wolfenstein 2, that I picked out specifically because it had so many great moments. But the things I respond to most in gaming are the things that the gameplay and the mechanics create or the systems create. And for me, that was winning a game of PUBG, which is just when it came out in March or April, I got on pretty quickly. And I probably spent that first whole month playing the solo version by myself, trying to just get my first win. And it took a really long time. And I think I had played probably about 90 hours before I finally won a single match. So then when you get to that point where you're in that final 5 and you've been there a couple times before and you finished up number 3 or number 2, and it hurts so bad because you're so close and you can feel yourself getting better, but you're still not good enough. That can get really, it gets intimidating. Like, you're like, what if I never do this? And you start like putting off other games because I'm like, okay, no, I have to accomplish this. I have to do this before I can move on. It's an albatross around my neck now. So when I got to the point where I was in a match and I was in the top 5 and I just saw everything unfolding in front of me, where, I saw the 4 other people right over there. I could see them fighting each other, and I got set up in a way to stay off to the side and pick them off when I could. And like one ran in front of me, and I threw a flash grenade, stunned him, took him out, and that drew everyone else out looking for me. But they all spotted each other, and the other 3, like 2 of them died, and I took out the last one and got my win. And it was just, I don't know, it was ecstatic. It was awesome. And I think that is something that most people who have played the game and gotten a chicken dinner would feel similarly about. Do you guys, maybe before we get into some of these story moments, do you guys have anything along those lines?
No, because my big competitive game is Overwatch, and, you're winning half of your games there, right? So that's kind of the neat thing about PUBG, right? Is that the win is so kind of elusive. And there's still like an accomplishment from like, oh, I did pretty good, this time or whatnot. I do like the deathmatch mode they added into Overwatch, just because it is like that. I can feel good about winning that. Maybe,
right.
Like, oh, look, I went up against these other people. Even though it's like not a super fair mode because these characters aren't really balanced for that. I, still pat myself on the back for that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in that case, I guess we can get into some of these other ones. Steph, why don't we start with you? Let's talk about Nier Automata.
Oh.
Let's do it. I'm actually, I might surprise you guys. I know I've been saying how much I don't like this game, but there's some moments in this game that I really, really like. So lay it on us, Steph. I'm very interested in, because just the way you wrote this.
I just wrote starts crying because of Nier Automata. Because there are little moments where you really get just stabbed in the heart throughout the game. Because the first place I went in not knowing anything, and I'm partway through my second playthrough, and then I got spoiled, and I'm just emotionally scarred, and I need support right now in my life because I found out that 2B dies, and then you find out all this other stuff afterwards, and I watched a scene on YouTube where, this is my moment, where 9S takes her arm off her corpse and attaches it to himself. And I was just like, oh no, nothing will ever be okay ever again. And it's just like this convoluted love story / all this other stuff with even more spoilers about their like really complex relationship. And it's just really like, I'm still not over it, and I'm really concerned about when I get to that point in the game, because I'm gonna finish it. I'm really worried for future Stephanie. How I'm gonna need to like block off like a couple days or something, and just be like,
days of mourning for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I will say that moment got me pretty. Like, I actually played through it, and that happened. I didn't know it was coming, and I was full on like, yeah, 2B's good. 2B's good. 2B's my waifu. I like it, and then gut punch. Like, no, why you do this?
It's just our robot boyfriend and girlfriend. Leave them alone. Let's be happy.
Exactly. Like, leave them be. Although I will say that there is more to it that you don't quite know yet, Steph.
Yeah.
So,
that's why I'm concerned, because I've seen like little bits and pieces here and there, like her recording in her little like flight mech thing to him, and I'm just like, oh god, there's just going to be layers and layers of heartbreak in this game, and I'm just going to be strolling along, doing a side quest.
It's not happy-go-lucky. It's not. Yeah. It's not Mario.
Yeah, definitely not. If I were to pick a moment from Nier, it would be the very beginning of playthrough B, where before you take control, before you take control of 9S, and you're playing as one of the sad, sort of half broken, half like useless robot, and he just keeps saying brother. And
that's so good.
Yeah, you see that he's talking about one of his other robot pals that's right there, who he considers his brother, or maybe is his brother, maybe, and this other robot's dead, and the robot that you're playing as is like brother, and keeps going back and forth trying to get oil to pour on his brother to bring him back to life, because he thinks that's how it works. And you walk around the edge to get the bucket, and you're holding the bucket, and you're like, okay, there's some oil right over there. I just got to go get it. And you can walk right up to it, and the game lets you fill up the bucket slowly. And then once you have it, you turn around, you're like, okay, maybe this will work. Because I didn't know at this point. I don't know how this works. So you start walking back, and you try to take the shortest path, and your robot trips on this little piece of metal or whatever, and drops the bucket and spills everywhere. And it's just devastating. You go fill it up again and pour it on it, and nothing happens, and the robot's still dead.
It's so good.
And
then the main character the main character looks at you and laughs haha, it's people.
Exactly. Yeah. Totally. And it's I have not played all the way through it, and already I'm like, oh boy, 9S. I don't think you need to really say this sort of shit because you need to look at yourself right now, my friend.
Yeah. You're a robot too.
Yeah, and if you're talking about dying as a robot and coming back to life, you literally just played through a moment where you came back to life as a robot. So yeah, I don't know. But that really got me and made me think, okay, I actually will keep playing through this, although I haven't yet, and I think I'll get over the hump.
There's so many little moments. It's like a mechanic moment at the beginning is when you first die. And the credits scroll, and then I was telling Mike earlier, it just filled me with existential dread throughout the rest of the game because I was constantly it's been a while since I saved,
That's the great thing too. Is there's the 3 or 4 or 5, forget the actual ending things, but there's all these joke endings.
Right. There's
too.
It's 26 different endings, but only 5 are those real substantial ones, and the other ones are half jokes.
That stuff is pretty funny.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else from Nier that I would call out. I don't know. That moment was the biggest one. Mike, why don't you give us one?
I think the big one for me is, obviously I liked Super Mario Odyssey, and there were a lot of really cool moments in that game. A lot of things that stuff at the end I don't even want to talk about. Just discovering that, I can actually capture this thing and become that thing.
Hey, we can do full spoilers here. This is people need to be prepared for that.
Yeah, but that's not my moment anyways. The best fair. The best moment is in the New Donk City level, when you kind of first go there, it is rainy, and you do this kind of fun boss fight on the tower. But then once you do a little bit of the open world thing, you kind of help set up this festival, and then you do the festival, and it's just this level. It's mostly doing that 2B stuff, right? 2B. I'm thinking of near 2D stuff. 2D.
I was very confused.
The dimension. It's
Mario
the 2D platforming with
I don't know.
With the retro side-scrolling things, but you're kind of working your way up this tower, and they're playing that song, that Jump Up Superstar. There's fireworks everywhere. It's nighttime. It's just crazy looking, and it's just super fun. It's super exciting. It's just one of the best levels I've seen in a game in recent memory.
Yeah, it's a moment of high production in terms of presentation that's very directed. Where most of the game is you just kind of you'll see some shit out there. We made it so you can just run in any direction and you'll find something. We promise. And this was a moment they're like, no, give us the reins a little bit, and we're gonna show you a really good time. And it worked. It really worked for me. And it was very respectful and reverent of Mario's history.
It was cool to see literally Donkey Kong. A lot of times there's a lot of references to Super Mario Bros. But it's cool to see Donkey Kong take a lot of the kind of reins there.
For sure. Yeah, I like that moment a ton. Stephanie, how far into Mario did you get before you got bored, I guess?
I think I'm in a jungle somewhere still. I think it's okay.
Oh my god.
It's good. It's fine.
It's almost worse than hating it.
Yeah, because it keeps getting better, too. That's the thing. So have you played through New Donk City?
No, not yet.
Okay.
So,
at least get through this. At least get through New Donk City. Okay. That's all I ask.
I'll revisit it. I'll have some time over the holidays, I think. There's so many other things to play, though, that are more interesting than
That's good. Nothing's more interesting. Nothing's more interesting.
There are some other moments from Mario I at least want to talk about. When you... I guess we could... you're not going to care about spoilers, really, Stephanie. You don't have a lot of nostalgia for Mario, right?
She's not playing this game.
Yeah, I know.
What's a Mario spoiler?
What's a Mario?
Meet a new enemy? There's no plot.
Oh, my God.
This is one of those things. Oh, my God. My friend trolls me about this. You cannot spoil Mario.
You can spoil Mario.
Spoil experiences, which are way more important than some stupid writing. Sorry.
Says the writer.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. At the end, you take over Bowser, and
oh, it's so cool.
It's awesome. It's like such a that's another good moment where they're gonna play a song that has really silly lyrics, and it feels cinematic, which is very weird for a Nintendo game, at least a Mario game. I don't know.
The whole time you're kind of wondering, like, is that going to happen? Is that going to be a thing? Are they going to let me do that?
Right, exactly.
And they do.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't. They pay that off. They know they can't really introduce that without coming up with a good reason why you can't, or just letting you do it, and they let you do it. And it's it's a really good moment. It's a really good way to cap off that first playthrough.
Right. This is more of a me.
Damn it, I didn't even realize it.
This is more of a me thing, but it was definitely one of my favorite moments when I got 999 moons.
I mean,
kind of like spending a lot of extra time going back, getting all of them. Still just having a ton of fun the entire time. Like making that accomplishment happen was great.
How do you feel about? Did you have any excitement or feeling of accomplishment when you beat Darker Side of the Moon?
Yeah, that one was that whole kind of final level thing was cool, and there are some Mario games, specifically like Mario World, that have like that extra hard final level, which is neat. I thought that one was super fun, and it did take me kind of like a couple of days of going through that to get it down. And it was cool to kind of like it's cool to like see your progress, right? Like at first, like. You start like zipping by the areas that gave you trouble before and working your way to the new ones. It
starts with like a way to get go from 3 hearts to 6 hearts, and I'm just I don't need the 6 hearts. I can get to the next point.
Right? Yeah. No. I don't even bother with the 6 hearts right away. I just go to the that one by the pyramid. That's
the Sphinx.
Later.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's where I'm at right now. I haven't really had a lot of time to perfect my run, but it is a really cool way to play a Mario level. It's it's different and fresh, and I kind of hope, I'm like sitting here thinking, man, a new Super Mario, Odyssey, like what does that look like? Do I just want more DLC that plays on this stuff, or do I want a whole new game that has a lot more of the stuff in the back half?
I would love a Mario Odyssey too.
Yeah, so I don't know, but this level's making me think that, and I can't wait to beat it because I'm sure it probably would have ended up on this list for me. Let's see, I got a bunch of Wolfenstein ones if you guys want to indulge me.
Go for it.
Yeah.
This is like the last one on my list that I need to play still.
You haven't even... Okay, god damn it.
Well, look, I've been working on everything else. I spent all day yesterday playing Mega Man 3, which was a good decision. The hell with your new games.
Yeah. Okay, so... I'm trying. Let me see if I really have one that I want to stand above the rest. There's the beheading. There's the meeting Dad.
So pleasant.
Yeah. That scene is... so up and down, such a roller coaster that it actually almost is pleasant, just the way that the whole thing goes.
Is that the thing from the trailer with the lady with the axe?
No, that's the very beginning. That's another beheading. There's multiple beheadings.
Why are you beheading so many people?
If I'm being honest,
you have Nazis.
Yeah,
come on, Nazis.
It's tough. Okay, so I think I'll go with meeting the director, and then I'll have another one that I actually didn't write down. So in the lead up to Wolfenstein 2's release, they did some advertising that showed the back of a character's head that people were like, oh, maybe he'll be in this one, maybe he won't be. We saw it. Okay, he's going to be in this game. Turns out that he is on Venus, and you meet him when you go to. God, neither of you have played it, so I'm like actually hesitant to spoil some of these things because they really are so incredible. So. I'm going to say who the character is. It's Adolf Hitler.
Makes you feel any better. I'm not paying attention.
Yeah, fair enough. That helps. So you go to Venus, and you're going to play this character in this movie as a way to infiltrate this place to basically disable it so you can do another mission or whatever. That doesn't matter so much. But you're pretending to be an actor, and you go to Venus, you meet Adolf Hitler, who's going to be this guest director on this movie or this episode of a TV show. It wasn't clear. And you're there with a couple other actors who are all trying to get this part. And Hitler comes on, and he starts talking to some of you. And he meets one named Ronnie, who is very... He's like a sycophant. I can never say that word correctly, but he's like sniveling and trying to play up to the power and say, "Oh man, you're so great. You guys are so doing such a good job. I'm such an admirer of your work. And I just want to be an actor in wholesome films." And he does something, I can't remember exactly what, but he makes Hitler nervous, who happens to be a paranoid guy. And Hitler says, "Oh wait, are you a Jew? Are you a Jew?" And he takes out his gun. He's like, "Wait, huh?" And he shoots him in the head. And if you go afterwards, like after this happens, and look at the guy's his chair where he's sitting, he has some paperwork, and it says his last name, and it's covered, and the last 3 letters are GAN, and it's pretty clear that this guy is Ronald Reagan.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, okay, so that's incredible. And then you get your chance to go and actually audition for the part, and you stand up, and you walk across, and they hand you a gun, a loaded gun, because you guys are going to be, this is like Hitler wants it to be real, and you get a chance to earn an achievement, which is shoot Hitler in the head. And the game's automatically over. There's so many guards around, they'll kill you, but you get an achievement for that.
Wow.
And it's like, you want to, you get to a point where you sort of want to check and see if other people who have played through this game, if they have that achievement or not, so you know if they're on the up and up. It's almost like a moral test. Like, Microsoft should probably just keep, or whoever, like, they should just keep a log of people who've played this game and whether or not they have this achievement, and just send it off to like the right, people to understand and know like who's who. And it just kind of keeps escalating from there to a point where then you go in and you do your audition for real and impress Hitler, and they love it. And I don't know,
loves it.
Yeah, it's a good scene, but there's just some of these really small moments inside of it that make it like way better, and it shows like, oh, these are like really good writers. They could have done Hitler and Wolfenstein 2 in so many really dumb ways that came off really poorly, and they actually handled it really well. So I really appreciated it. The other thing about Wolfenstein 2, I'll say, is just the way it pays off some of its stuff. So there's these are a couple of moments, but the one I will talk about, which is pretty basic, is it's an example of how good the storytelling is your wife is pregnant. You're BJ Blazkowicz. Your wife is pregnant. You guys aren't married. You could tell that BJ wants to marry her because at the very beginning of the game, he's having a flashback with his mom, and she hands him a wedding ring and says, "Hey, you can ask someone, eventually with this ring that's been in our family. Just don't show your father because your father's a bad guy." And it's something they don't bring up again until about halfway through the game, where you go back home. And it's clear that he's going home to get that ring. It's somewhere in the house. He's going to go find it. And during that sequence, you actually deal with some stuff with your father in that scene that's very good. But I'll let you guys see that for yourselves. But you get the ring, and it gives you a nice reminder, like, oh yeah, there's this ring. Here it is. Something's going to have to happen with this, right? And then you play through the rest of the game and sort of forget about it again. And then as the credits are playing, he does get down and asks her to marry him. And it was such a really refreshing and sort of tight story where it's like just these 3 beats throughout the entire game told such a simple and elegant story inside of this video game that is otherwise sometimes very silly, a lot of the time very violent. But it also always knows where its heart is. And I thought this was a good example of that. But yeah, there's some other stuff I could talk about from Wolfenstein, but those are the moments I wanted to touch on the most. Stephanie, why don't we get to you? You have some other ones that you wanted to get on.
Oh, yeah. I think this one sort of blew everyone away during the demos, like at E3 and PAX and the other events. But in What Remains of Edith Finch, the cannery scene with Lewis Finch, where, you play sort of like the daydream character in like this fantasy world with one joystick, and then with the other, you're like just beheading fish. I just thought that game is full of really great little moments, but that's just so memorable. Yeah, it's just incredible, and it just really puts you in that mindset of like multitasking, and it's just like all around just terrific, I think.
Yeah, I was kind of blown away. I had not seen anything from that actually until I played it this past week, finally. And so when that moment came along and you're doing the one thing with the left analog stick and the other with the right analog stick, and you could feel your brain sort of filling up the space to make sure that you're able to do both of these things at once. Like, it's kind of keeping things... It fills up the space in between so you can do them separately. Like, it puts, like, this fog in your head. Like, I could feel it physically manifest almost. And then, yeah, you get to a point where you are just automatically keeping up with the fish and still focusing instead on the little character, basically this little character who builds his own little world to become the king of this world, and it slowly overtakes the rest of the screen. It's very powerful stuff. I was really impressed with that specific moment, especially from this game.
Yeah, and that story, I feel like it's just really relatable. Like the desire for escapism, and like his life is like pretty pretty rough, you know, and he just kind of retreats into this fantasy world that seems more real to him than his actual life. I think it's just like, it's just A+, I think.
Just let the kid smoke some pot, goddammit.
Yeah, just let everyone be happy.
Yeah, damn. Yeah, I don't know. Those mechanics really do get that point across really well, though. So, yeah, that could be one of our finals for sure, I think. Mike, you've written some stuff down here.
Yeah, I got one of the big ones is Uncharted Lost Legacy, and this is kind of about the end, so another spoiler. But I like the whole thing a lot, but I thought it was really neat. The very final level it's a big callback to Uncharted 2, which is where the main character's game Chloe originated. It's a train level again, but it's really neat. Did you guys hear me? Did I go away for a second?
No, you're here.
Okay, I'm sorry. Everything went real quiet. But yeah, the train level was the best thing in Uncharted 2, which is one of my favorite games. And it was really cool to see them like basically be like, hey, look, this is now the PlayStation 4. We can do an even bigger, better train level with kind of like just more tricks and whatnot. It was just super fun to play through. It just like the same reason why that train level from Uncharted 2 is still impressive. Like that train was actually going through this large landscape. It was just on this path. It was these neat tricks where like you'd have to like use a sniper rifle to kill people like 5 trains ahead of you, and if like the train turned, it was like this really weird perspective thing. Yeah, that series is just built on these cool kind of moments like that, these set pieces, and that was one of the coolest ones I ever played in the series. Awesome.
Yeah, that is one of the things I always noticed about Uncharted is they are very good technically, but they use it in ways that a lot of times it's almost invisible, and you don't really realize it until you're like, oh, I'm doing some really cool stuff that I haven't done in games before. Lord of the Mountain. Yeah, this is a good one. Steph, talk about this one. I like this.
Yeah, I think we all have sort of stuff from Zelda, but just you know, you see that sort of glow off in the distance in the mountains, and you never really, you know, you might be doing some stuff or, you know, fighting some divine beasts and things like that. And then, you know, once you eventually get there and you see the Lord of the Mountain for the first time, I was just like so blown away. There are like a lot of little moments like that. Yeah. But that one in particular really stood out to me. Like, I don't think Zelda's like a perfect game. I think it's like amazing, but it's not perfect. But just the fact that it can replicate that sense of wonder that you're really exploring this world, I think it's like really just memorable, I think.
Yeah, you're right. It's a good example of that sort of thing that does happen pretty often in that game. You can just go running in any direction. And I think the way I described it in the review is it's like Minecraft if Minecraft were made by Nintendo, because you're always going over another hill, but then there's always going to be something interesting over every one of those hills. But sometimes it's like a special moment, and that's one of those for sure. I really liked trying to capture the Lord of the Mountain and be able to ride him and kind of figuring that out and realizing I was supposed to be going pretty slow and really surprise him. Yeah, if there was a way, I think you could do it like you just go up to one of the 2 cliffs that are right next to his little pond and jump down and try to land right on his back. I think I got that to work once, and that was very exciting. Yeah.
I actually hit him the first time I saw him because I thought he was like one of those little like glowy bunnies. Like, oh, if I hit him, I'll get something. And then just like all the beauty just evaporated around me, and I was like, "What have I done?"
Oops! Oh no, I've ruined the world.
Yeah. Am I the bad guy?
Oh, definitely, without a doubt. Yeah. I guess more on Zelda. I just liked anytime I made a discovery about the way the systems will actually let you do the thing you want to do. For example, and this is one I discovered recently. Like you throw a metal boomerang, and then you switch to your magnetic power. And you could grab the boomerang out of midair while it's still floating in front of you and hold it out, and it's just like still spinning, and it's this just metal blade now. You could walk around with it and go attack enemies with it. And that works because they just built all these systems as what they call it basically like a chemistry system as opposed to a physics system, which are, you know, every game has physics. Most games have physics. They just built this chemistry system, and everything works the way it's supposed to. Everything makes sense. And when you go and make a discovery like that, like if this system is real, if they really built it out, and it's not just a bunch of smoke and mirrors, I should be able to do this thing. And then you go and try it, and you could do that thing, and it's like, oh my, okay, wow. And that happened to me over and over, which is why it's hard to pick out just one moment from this. But yeah, that was one of the magic parts of Zelda for sure.
I think I also felt a sense of invincibility when I first started Zelda, and then I set everything around me on fire and died. And I was like, oh, there are consequences in this world. And it does, as you say, like feel like it's like a real world with real like rules in place that work as you would expect them to. There aren't any like artificial barriers necessarily, you know, and just added in with like all those little moments where you discover things and you're surprised by things. It just makes for like a great gaming experience.
I think coming from people that have played games for a long time, it could feel even more magical because like you might show something like, oh yeah, if you want to get across this this gap here in the land, there's like this chasm and there's some trees right here. I'm going to knock down a tree and I'll build a bridge out of this tree. I think people who don't play a lot of games would be like, yeah, of course. Like, yeah, why? Of course you're going to be able to do that. Why wouldn't you do that? But for like, I don't know. I've been playing games so long. Like, of course, it's not. No, that's not an option. You can never do that. There's some other trick here you're supposed to figure it out. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. Special game. Let's see. Mike, Persona 5 music. Is there? Talk about that. Explain.
So you know, Persona 5. It's very it's kind of dungeon focused, right? Where you go through this calendar, like every kind of month or so, there's like the specific dungeon you're supposed to get through, and you kind of manage your time and spend a few days usually to get through the whole thing. Once you reach the end of the dungeon, just kind of like a story moment with the understanding of, okay, we're going to come back tomorrow now and basically fight the boss. So each dungeon has its own song, but when you get to that moment where you go in for the last day, like you kind of know, like this is it, this is the big final push, there's a special song that plays. It's this really catchy kind of like guitar driven, like dun, 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 dun. It's like, yeah, let's do this. And it's always great. I always liked that song. It kind of had like a lead guitar as like the main melody thing. Towards the end of the game, like about the second to last or third to last dungeon, where like the plot's really kind of picked up, you're kind of in the final act. You're doing with the dungeon. You go back for that final day, and you're like, okay, let's do it. Yeah, the song's playing. But instead of like the guitar, it's like a vocal version that comes in. So there's like lyrics now. And like that just pumped me up so much. It was just this really neat moment. I was like, oh yeah, this means this is special now. Like shit's really going down now. I'm super into this.
Yeah, I feel like most games don't have really great musical cues like that. That's one of the things I did like about Mario at the end. They tell you it's special by having another big song. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of games have good music, but yeah, sometimes they aren't so good about like the cues specifically, and that really was this neat way of like this. Not only is this song good, but it's like signaling this kind of this feeling from me, right? And it wasn't just like because specifically of how the song sounds, even, but just the way that like they kind of presented that song and how it played off of past experiences and subverted them in this really fun way.
I only have one more. It was just beating Cuphead. I think Cuphead's.
I did that.
Yeah, I think Cuphead's a pretty hard game, and it felt pretty good to beat.
Gotta look out for that tutorial.
Yeah, I mean, I actually, I had someone else come do. I had Dean come over and beat that for me, and then I played the rest. Yeah. Love you, Dean. Yeah. I don't know. There's not much else to say about that. It's a hard game, and it's cool to have beaten it. It felt really good at the time. That's a good game. But we could probably start figuring out the top three here. I'm wondering, do you guys have any thoughts about what should be over there for sure?
Well, what if we each said our favorite of the ones we said at least?
Yeah.
Might be good.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, why don't you guys start?
I think New Donk City probably needs to be there. I think that was just the highlight of one of the best games of the year for me.
Yeah, I think for me it'd be the Lewis Finch in the cannery with the salmon scene.
I feel like I'm getting spoiled here because those two I'm easily like ecstatic about both of those because they're both really great moments. I don't know. For me, mine would actually probably be getting a chicken dinner in PUBG. I think that's it's a rare experience, but it's enough people play that game to know what I mean. And it's really...
Jeff made his all about him.
I know, totally. But I mean, it's only because you guys haven't gotten chicken dinners. How is that my fault? Get good, scrub.
Oh, I could get a chicken dinner.
I don't know. Can you?
I can go to Popeyes.
You want to know the funny thing? The day before my first chicken dinner, I went to Popeyes. I for lunch.
Nice.
That's what I had, and then I came home and got it. I thought it was fortuitous. I would put that over there. I mean, that's if I'm just being honest. And I think that's a pretty good list, if I'm also being honest.
Yeah, I think that does it.
Yeah. For me, I don't know. I could go with any of these to win. Do you guys feel passionate about any of them?
I mean, I would pick New Donk City, I guess, but I mean, kind of asking us to come to consensus about this is going to be kind of rough because the one is so personal to you. Steph doesn't really didn't play that part of Mario. I didn't play Edith Finch actually.
So I played all three, and if
I leave it in your hands, Jeff.
Fair enough. I would actually probably go with Lewis Finch in the Cannery.
Not how I thought you would agree with me. I don't leave it in your hands.
New York City is awesome, but it was just like it's special for a Mario game more than anything else. I mean, it's a really good moment for any game, period. But it was special because it was in a Mario where you don't get those kind of moments a lot. That helped. Although I'm probably going to argue against anyone who makes arguments later in this week about why this game deserves or doesn't deserve anything because it's about Mario. But for now, Lewis Finch in the Cannery. Yeah.
Fine.
It probably helps that I literally just played that, but it was mind blowing. It was really cool.
It's just so thematically tied and just mechanically innovative.
It's good. It's got all the stuff I want. Like if you're gonna tell a story, do it with mechanics, and they did that. And it doesn't overstay its welcome, and it's just like it really gives you that physical sense of being overwhelmed, and it does it well. So yeah, all right, that's our winner. So what remains of Edith Finch? The Lewis Finch in the Cannery moment. The runner-ups there: New Dog City finale and getting a chicken dinner, your first chicken dinner in PUBG. All right, let's get into best writing. We'll just keep this moving along. I'm going to read the nominees, and I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. I think, but it's like writing overall. It's not best story, and it's not best character, but I think it's the best combination of all those things for the most part. We have another category, best new character, but this is just like character writing, dialogue, plot, everything. Incidental world writing as well. So the nominees are Wolfenstein 2. What Remains of Edith Finch, Yakuza 0. I guess a lot of these I just kind of put on here just because I thought they should be. Nier Automata, Night in the Woods, Horizon Zero Dawn, Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice, Torment, Tides of Numenera. That would have been Jason. He's probably not going to be able to be here to argue for that one. And Divinity, Original Sin 2, I think is the name. Are there any that we should add to here?
I think that about does it.
Yeah.
I can't really think of any of them.
Yeah.
You two have kind of already made your cases for Wolfenstein 2 and for Edith Finch.
Yes, for sure.
That's true.
And the talking about the payoff with the ring is kind of the same example I would use here. So we can kind of maybe get into some of these other ones if we want. Real quick, Mike, would you add the Uncharted game?
It's like the rating's bad. The rating is good, but I don't know if that's not like the standout thing on that one. I would be fine not necessarily adding it because it's not going to win. I don't think that's fine.
Okay. Well, Stephanie, let's start.
I think Horizon was written better than it.
Okay. I think I could see that. Stephanie, is there anything here that stands out to you that you want to talk about?
Well, I love Night in the Woods. I was one of the Kickstarter backers, and I waited 4 years for this game. And it didn't disappoint me, which I was worried. I went in being like, "There's no way that this is gonna live up to my expectations after all these little side games that they released and all the anticipation." But I think it's great. I love that Infinite Fall, the developers came up with this term Rust Belt Gothic because they're from the Midwest, and the whole sort of theme behind the game is just exploring this decaying town where people have left, the jobs are leaving. And just the main character May drops out of college and comes back home, and she's trying to reconnect with her friends. And I just think the writing is really great. It's really cheeky. I could see it sort of rubbing people the wrong way because it's a little millennial, But I think it's it just sort of covers a whole swath of topics from class issues to interpersonal issues to depression and mental health to family, drama. So I just think it's just a great story. It's one of those games where you could play several times, I think, because it's impossible to sort of talk to everyone and do everything. And it just comes together as a really great package.
Yeah, I haven't played it yet, but I've been watching some streams here and there to kind of get an idea. And it does seem like it's writing of a different type than you normally see in games, and it's of a maybe not higher caliber, but a high enough caliber that they're pulling off this different thing in a way that it feels very fresh. It just feels very unique in the world that it exists compared to other games. Mike or Stephanie, do either of you want to go to bat for Nier Automata?
Nier Automata is so weird and fun.
So I listened to a couple spoiler casts. I read some stories from people explaining why they like this game. And it sounds like if I do keep playing, I might actually end up liking this game. Just based on what happens.
Well, I still don't know what you don't like.
It's boring.
Tell me.
Okay, yeah. I mean, if you want me to just...
It's boring.
Yeah, it's boring. It's like... It's boring, and the mechanics aren't very exciting, even when they are switching from one thing to another. And
because this actually is the one complaint I do with the game. I do think it's kind of easy.
Yeah. Oh god,
it's very easy. Yeah.
I mean, I got it to the point where it is basically playing itself now. But even when it wasn't, or if I turn that stuff off, it's like I'm just kind of going through the motions here. It's just like a wave of small little robots attacking me, and I gotta fight through almost an absurd number of them at some points. Like, and it doesn't feel like there's any point to that. Like I'm not learning anything new. I'm not discovering anything special about the game. I'm not finding any depth in the combat by doing this stuff. And then on top of that, I mean, the world is desolate for a reason. I get that. I honestly do now at this point. And I kind of guessed it too, just based on some of the stuff. I'm like, okay, I know what one of the twists is here. So, but still, it's a boring world to run from one place to another in. It's not like I'm gonna be stumbling across a lot of incidental writing. I'm not gonna find moments where there's something that happened here and now I understand that. Maybe maybe the like abandoned amusement park has some of that stuff, but you kind of get like it's one big giant metaphor. You kind of get it. So yeah, I don't know. There's other reasons. I just think the actual playing of the game is boring.
Yeah, I could see that. You're like just spamming the pod button, basically.
Right, and that's what I mean. I end up doing that most of the time. In this first playthrough especially, I think the writing's pretty predictable. I understand now it does go to some places that are like the real shit. Like it gets into it in a real way. But it's so far from where I was at. That said, that moment with the little robots at the beginning of the second playthrough, it's like, okay, I'm already starting to see like they're going to show me some more stuff. They're going to get to the heart of these characters, and some of these characters are just these robot communities or whatever. I like that stuff, but yeah, I don't know. Mike, you've played all the way through. Stephanie, you're further than me. Is there something in the writing that you guys think is worthy of recognizing here?
I mean, most of the writing, you're kind of right. It's not like there's not a lot of incidental or even really environmental writing. The writing is characters talking to each other. That's pretty much where it all is. And that stuff's good. It's on the nose. Like I said, it's very Kojima-esque, right? Where it's kind of a little weighty. I don't know if weighty is not the word. It's a little
melodramatic. It's a little anime.
It takes itself.
It's super weeby.
Yeah.
Super weeby. Even like maybe a game that I didn't nominate. Maybe one of us Persona 5. Which, when I think about it, maybe it's just because it has a lot of writing. But
most writing.
Yeah,
one for that.
The most writing award. Yeah. I
don't want to make it, because I'm not saying it's bad writing by any means. I just want to know if it's good, like as you guys get further in.
I don't know if like the writing is specifically what makes it good. I guess it does in a way. Like
it seems like it's got a lot of good things.
Like what is writing sometimes?
Yeah.
Well, I think the strength of the writing isn't necessarily in. I think it's sort of like J.K. Rowling.
Like,
stick with me. So the Harry Potter books are not poetic. Like the writing itself isn't like that attractive, but the way she plots, and the way it comes together as like a mystery. I feel like that's how it is with Nier. Like, the actual writing itself isn't great, but what the strength is the way later playthroughs can recontextualize earlier scenes that sort of lend them extra meaning. So that would be my argument for it, but I also don't think it's, like, super high-quality writing, to be totally honest.
It feels like it is doing some very good workman-like writing in some very unique video gamey ways, and that's not like video gaming is a dismissive pejorative. It's video gamey is like, this is stuff that can only happen in video games kind of way.
Yeah.
And some of that stuff I think is very impressive, and it seems like it like does get to those places. But I think there's some shortfalls as well. But I don't know.
It's a little laughable sometimes. Yeah. Like the one of the bosses is literally screaming, "Nothing matters anymore" at you. You know, and I was like, "Oh, geez."
But yeah, but they also like nail some of those very quotable moments that become as gods and stuff like that. They get that, they nail that stuff. So
yeah, that was pretty good, and the way it was incorporated into the music, stuff, it's pretty neat.
Right. And I think all that's part of the world building, part of the writing, and I don't know. I'm conflicted. Maybe it'll squeak onto our final three. Mike,
I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
Mike, Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah, I think that one was one where I liked the writing of it quite a bit. I thought the characters were good. They did a really good job of like making your like father character kind of likable and interesting in the beginning. Just like a lot of the kind of incidental characters you would meet, just side characters, they all seemed to be kind of fleshed out. You kind of understood where they were coming from, what was going on. I think there's a lot of world building done through the writing, which was fun. I guess as I think about it, the one thing maybe I lost at beta is like the overall quote unquote plot sometimes wasn't that exciting. As I think about it now, like I kind of remember like a lot of things, but I don't like remember. Like I'm trying to think, what did I do at the end of that game? I saved everyone somehow. I can't quite exactly remember how, but something happened.
With stealth.
That's right.
Yeah, there's something. But yeah, I can't quite exactly remember. But it was good.
Yeah, I would echo that. Just it's got very good world building. I like the background information, everything that's sort of propping up all your personal interactions, like all the different tribes and stuff. I mentioned this yesterday. I thought that stuff was very cool and kind of gets me more and more interested. And it's clearly they have a good foundation here. And it, maybe I haven't beaten the game. Maybe the plot doesn't fully pay off, but. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Hellblade. I brought up Hellblade just because it does seem there's the writing of the story. I think might go one way or the other. I'm not going to beat this game. I'm just not enjoying the actual playthrough enough. I might watch it maybe, but I still wanted to bring it up here because even in the first 2 hours that I did play, the way that the voices in her head were written, it felt very, like, I don't know if realistic's the right word. It felt truthful. It never felt embarrassing. It never felt like, oh, this is just trying to play up insanity for the effect of it. They're just trying to use it as a special effect. It felt like, no, this seems pretty honest. And the things that they're saying is not just like, oh, wacky out there stuff. It just seems like it's playing on the emotions the character's feeling at the time, and all these voices are just putting words to those various feelings that she's experiencing all at once, and all that stuff was very good, and I was really impressed with that. Maybe there's some other elements here. I don't know. I'm not sure how much you guys have played, but that's what stuck out to me.
Yeah. It's like again, I don't know if it's realistic or what, but at least what I liked about it is that it was kind of different, right? It was something new. And that really does kind of carry the game through some of its other problems, is that it really does feel unique, specifically through the writing. Like, the writing is doing a lot of the work in keeping that game interesting.
Yeah, I was going to start on that tonight. But I think to the point of the voices, I wonder how much of it is the voice acting and how much of it is the writing, because I've seen some playthroughs of it online, and it seems like all the deliveries are just like really fantastic, and the acting, just the mocap and everything is just really kind of eerie. Almost.
Yeah,
and you guys were saying,
oh yeah,
too,
for
right?
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, Mike's saying he thinks that one character was like actual, like almost FMV. I'm not sure. Like the guy that appeared in that vision very early in the game. I'm like, whatever it was so realistic behind this fog that that was another thing that blew me away. But I also think that there is some writing elements in there that also made that good. I don't know. The delivery is very good. So yeah, it's hard to separate those two. But yeah, we could touch on some of these other ones real quick. I haven't played Torment. I have played some Divinity, but not enough.
I've played a bit of Divinity too. The writing is definitely good, but I haven't played enough of it.
Right. It feels like it's like a really well written one of those computer RPGs, or just like any RPG. Like if it's a really good written RPG campaign.
And there's a genre that kind of needs the good writing, right?
Exactly.
Is Tides of Numenera like Planescape at all? Like, is the writing similar? Because I've played Planescape.
Right. I mean, it's supposed to be inspired by.
Yeah, it's a spiritual successor.
Like
yeah, but I'm not sure if the writing is similar or not. I don't know.
Yeah, because if I recall, the writing was a little dry in Planescape, just for my personal taste. But it had so many interesting ideas and descriptive imagery, and just like a lot of world building, which is very impressive.
Right. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons that game is so revered.
Yeah.
And apparently Tides of Numenera does a lot of that stuff really well. I just don't know.
Yeah.
Yakuza Zero, I just threw it on here because I thought I'd play more of it by now, and I didn't.
I love Yakuza.
You're a liar.
I'm a liar.
Hey, there you go.
Did you play Yakuza Zero, Stephanie?
I played Yakuza Kiwami.
Okay, yeah.
And because I went and being like, oh, it's just gonna be a macho gangster thing, whatever. And then I was like, oh my god, I love you.
Yeah, I think it does seem like it has a very sweet center. There's something about it.
Yeah,
like,
it's very
creepy. Like the characters are silly and also try to take themselves seriously, but that's happening inside the context of the game, and the developers all know that these are all silly characters, and that stuff really works for me. I don't know, but I haven't played enough of it to really get it on this list. My list for this would probably be Wolfenstein 2, Edith Finch, and then I don't know, maybe Night in the Woods, but I haven't played that. Maybe Nier Automata. So I don't know. Would you guys rather? What would your guys' list look like?
I guess if I had to put one of the ones I talk about, how to say it? Yeah, maybe Nier. Nier's just so weird. I love Nier.
I would go with Night in the Woods over. I love Edith Finch and I love Night in the Woods, so it's a little tough. But I think I would go with Night in the Woods over Edith Finch just because it has so much personality, and it's, as you said, Jeff, it's not really the kind of writing you see in games that often. And I think that the sheer amount of dialogue that's in that game and just the way it really crafts the characters is really unique. So I would want that on the list.
So would you guys be okay with Wolfenstein 2, Night in the Woods, Nier Automata? I mean, if I need to, I'll like make a whole other case for Wolfenstein 2. But I mean, I honestly think it's one of the best written games ever.
I need to. I'm still really early.
Yeah.
I just got out of. No, I've been out of the wheelchair for a little bit now. I think I'm in the power suit.
All those early moments, like they feel very raw at the beginning, but they all pay off. And then there's that's just the stuff that's presented in cutscenes. If you explore the ship in between missions, you're going to find a bunch of little stories. Like there's a really good one with Max Haas, who's this really big, strong guy who has his head didn't in. He's clearly is dealing with some mental incapacity, but he behaves as a child, but he's clearly seen things that I think a lot of other people don't, and they show that early in the game by he beats the super genius on your team. I can't remember his name, but he's like the Dayashud, Jewish mystical scientist guy. He beats him at chess, and it's like, well, how did that happen? But then you start to see like, oh no, he's like this really intelligent artist. He sees things visually that other people don't, and the way they tell this story is slowly through, like as you go and check on his on this mural that he's making in his room, it slowly changes over time, and you could see a lot of the really cool elements in that painting.
It's really cool.
And it's like there's not a lot of words that this character only says Max Haas, but this is all written into the game, and it's just the way that they present it is visually, and it's super cool. And there's a ton of stuff like that. And I don't know, really impressed with the writing in that one. So. I don't know. I would pick that as the winner for this category, but I don't know.
You seem feel more strongly about that than I do of any of the kind of games I would think about. So I'm fine if you wanted to give it.
And you guys, I mean, I figured we'd be going to this and maybe Nier Automata, but you guys seem to have some reservations about that. Just some.
Yeah.
I think the plot points stuck with me more than the actual writing. Like, I think the beats that
and that's an important part of it.
I mean, it is kind of like B-movie anime trash, but I love it. Right.
With a really impressive structure is what it sounds like. It's got some.
Yeah.
It's like all the moment to moment stuff is that B movie trash, but what it's doing structurally is really impressive, and that's where the good writing comes in. Okay, I could accept that. And Night in the Woods. I mean, would you? Because I feel very strongly about Wolfenstein, but I want to know if you feel that strongly about Night in the Woods.
I do feel strongly about it, but I also think that your mileage may vary with it. Like for me, it really stuck with me. You know, like it came out in January, I think, and I still think about it, and I have the soundtrack, you know, that I bought that I listened to. Because I think his name is, what is his name? Alec Holowka, I think is his name. He also did the soundtrack for Towerfall.
Okay.
And 7. It's just the whole, I think it's such a great experience. But because you guys haven't played it, and I don't think it's for everyone, I wouldn't argue, you know, vehemently about it. But I do think for me, it's going to be
that's totally yeah.
For my Game of the Year list.
Hey, we'll move on to the next one then. I think Wolfenstein 2 can take this. I'll try to think. I mean, I do think some people might not. It might not be for everybody because it is gonna be violent and it'll be hard to get past some of that stuff. And it does not really care about the tone it's trying to present you. I think that's a deliberate choice and it works really well because sometimes it's done deliberately to make the point. Like, you know, this is a silly game about Nazis. Like, that's absurd, right? But the things they put around the silly Nazis, that's where all of their subtext is, and that's really important. So those various tones, that's not a problem. It's not some issue. But I think some people will see that as a tone problem. But I don't know. I still think it's probably the
I think it's interesting that you're talking about these emotional beats because just from my very limited playtime in it, like I was just a little like, oh, these Nazis are kind of over the top,
right?
You know. So I'm interested to get the meat of the story.
Yeah, and the point is that, you know, the Nazis aren't. I mean, they're the bad guys because they're Nazis in the game Wolfenstein, and they're Nazis. But it's all the things existing around the Nazis. That's where they make their point. That's what matters, and that's what they did so well. Okay. All right. So Wolfenstein 2. Ooh. And then the runner-ups are Nier Automata and Night in the Woods. All right, let's get through this last category. I think this one will probably go pretty quickly just because, Stephanie, you said you haven't played a ton of these, and Mike is clearly getting disinterested. You can look at this stupid board face.
I'm getting sleepy. Yeah.
You gotta drink more beers before. I think that'll help. Mike, why don't you kind of give me... Okay, let me do the nominees first, and then we'll go into Overwatch and Hearthstone if you want to touch on those. So Overwatch, Hearthstone, Minecraft, GTA Online, Hitman, Warframe, Team Fortress 2, Rocket League, Path of Exile. Some of these we don't even have to really talk about, but I think the big ones here are probably Overwatch, Hearthstone, maybe Minecraft, and Rocket League, and I would probably say Hitman a little bit. I don't play GTA Online enough to really talk about it.
No. It's funny because I don't know anyone who does. Like, people must be playing it a lot. I
think the people that play it a lot, and they're just in their own insular groups, and that's totally cool. It's just, I don't know enough. So, Mike, give me Overwatch and Hearthstone.
Hearthstone. One second. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, it makes me young, too. I get it, man.
Hearthstone did actually have a super good year. They had three full expansions come out. This is the first year where they did that, where there were no of those like solo adventure things that just kind of had fewer cards and some AI encounters. It was just all 135 card expansions, 3 of them. And the last 2 ones still came with significant single player content, which was really neat. And all the expansions have been pretty good. The first one, Journey to Angora, was maybe my favorite expansion the game's ever had. Second one, Knights of Frozen Throne, was a lot of fun. The new one, Kobolds and Catacombs, just came out like about a week ago, so it's hard to say like how, you know, if the meta is good or not. But I'm having fun with it. The dungeon run, the single player mode they added to that has been really good. So Hearthstone's been really impressive this year. Overwatch, you know, I still love the game. I play all the time. It had some cool stuff added. Moira recently, the new healer, was a really fun addition. You had, I think Orisa was way early in the year. That's like the new tank. She's been successful. Doomfist has kind of been a problematic addition to the game because they kind of made this high concept like brawler character, and at first he was like they had to nerf him because he's kind of built around this one punch kill mechanic, and it was like the hitbox was too big. People said so. Then they like reduced the hitbox, and then there's all these bugs with it. And basically, he's kind of just not unusable, but close to it. He's just not very strong because his play style is just go into the middle of the fight, hope you land your kind of one hit kill, and then try to escape. So that character's kind of been a little bit of a challenge for them, I think. There's also the whole Mercy thing where they wanted to get rid of her Mass Resurrect skill because it was kind of not great for the game. It was this kind of weird, boring thing where like her one ability to resurrect your entire team is really powerful, but you don't want her to be dead. So like Mercies would intentionally kind of hide in a corner, wait for their team to die, and then fly in and resurrect them. So they got rid of that, gave her just this new ultimate where she can like kind of fly around and do some things. And they made resurrect a single ability on a 30-second cooldown. And then it became more of a problem because, well, now she can just resurrect a friendly player every 30 seconds. That's also just way too good. All the other healers were completely outclassed by it. And they eventually fixed it by making it so that when she casts it, there's like a cast time and she's super vulnerable while she's doing it. And now it's funny because she still sees a ton of play. She's still very good just because resurrecting people in a team-based game with only 6 people on each team, that's a super powerful ability. So they got through it, but it was kind of an annoying, like that one patch where Mercy was just too good. They also buffed Junkrat and made him a little too strong. It was kind of rough there for a bit, but I mean, they've been doing a good job of adding stuff to the game and doing other events and stuff. But I think out of those two, Hearthstone definitely had the better year as far as ongoing support.
Yeah, I think you're probably. I mean, Overwatch had a lot of support. I think just they had more misses than Hearthstone did. I don't look.
And I will say about kobolds and catacombs, because I played Hearthstone for a little bit, and then when that came out, it actually piqued my interest enough to go back in and try to play.
Because the single player?
Because the single player, and then it froze my phone, and then my phone started boot looping and died, and then I had to get a new phone.
So
I can't speak to.
Hearthstone killed your phone. I like it.
Yeah, well, I think it was iOS, but yeah. So I think that does speak to the new things they're adding in, that it was enough to sort of make a sort of fair weather player like myself be like, oh, that sounds kind of interesting.
I will say that I have considered thinking about installing it again. And I was like, yeah, and we'll see if I ever actually do think about it, but right now I'm still just considering it. The rest of this list, I'm not sure. I feel really bad because I think the game that I've been playing, one of the mini games I was going to try to play this last month was Rainbow Six Siege. And I honestly think that's probably the real winner of this category, but I didn't get around to actually playing it.
Right. Like, I know a lot of people have. It's interesting how much you hear about Warframe all of a sudden this year, right? Like that game has been doing really well.
That game's like on like just a steady upward trajectory where it started really low, but it has just constantly like doubled its player base over time to the point where now when a new piece of content comes out, it's doubling, 1 million players into 2 million players, and it's something insane. That's just another game I haven't put a ton of time with. So I don't know. The two games I would probably want to talk about here are. Well, maybe I'll talk about Minecraft, Hitman, and Rocket League. Yeah, I'll just, and I think the rest of them we can just kind of toss out because I'm not going to go to bat for any of them. Let's start with Rocket League. I think they course corrected pretty hard this year in terms of throwing out the various arena sizes, or arena shapes, I should say. So that was a weird thing where you would go into competitive play, or not, but any sort of play. And they would have these arenas that were suddenly like slanted on the side or circular shape or something. And you got so used to playing on the standard arena that those always threw everyone off forever, no matter how much you played the game. They've gotten rid of that. Every arena is now the exact same shape and size. And it's really done a lot, I think, to just refocus the game on actually skilled play, which is nice. In terms of their cosmetic sport, it does seem like they've done a lot to figure out their loot box system and make that work really well. I think the one big thing here is you can collect a bunch of items from one tier out of these random loot boxes that everyone thinks is gambling, and probably is a little bit. But if you get all these little items that you don't like, you could trade them in and get something on the next tier that you do like, and you can pick it. So like you always feel like you're progressing even when you're not getting stuff you like. And that's been very smart. And I think it's one of the reasons you never hear anyone complaining really about loot boxes in Rocket League, even though I think they do use a key system. So yeah, that's been very smart. I'm glad they've kind of figured that out. Hitman didn't get a ton of support this year, in part because Square Enix sold, or just got rid of the company, just kicked it out of its company basically. And IO Interactive, it went independent, kept the Hitman license, and was quiet for a long time. And then all of a sudden they released season 2, or not season 2, but they released like a best of sort of thing with a new campaign, and new skins for the maps and stuff like that. And it's very good. It's just not, I think, what Hitman needed in terms of ongoing support. I was kind of hoping they would find a way to keep it with weekly updates. I know their situation kept them from doing that. I just hope they don't abandon that model going forward. But we'll see. And then Minecraft. It's worth pointing out that this game has really turned into one massive service. The big thing here is that they figured out how to, for most of the versions of the game, bring them all into one thing. So if you play on your phone, if you play on Xbox, and you play on like the Windows 10 version or whatever, everything you do can carry over to the other platforms. And if you buy something like on Xbox, it'll carry over to these other ones. And Microsoft has found a way to bring in Nintendo on this. So once the Switch version gets incorporated into this ecosystem, you could buy something on an Xbox One, and it'll carry over to the Nintendo version of the game, except for like a couple of like very specific Microsoft IPs like Halo or whatever, and like vice versa. Mario won't work on the Microsoft game. But I mean, they kind of getting that whole thing like figured out as they were releasing a Minecraft on every system. I think it's pretty impressive. And at the same time, they've built out the Minecraft marketplace with all of these community creators. And at a time when Valve is backing away from community creation and enabling people, the fans, to build items to sell to other fans, something that they're paying out less for that stuff. They don't seem interested like they once were. Microsoft is showing there are still big companies that want to make this work, and they are like doubling down and trying to make it a big deal. And that's very cool. But I don't know. For all three of these games, I don't feel like any of them had the kind of support that would attract me, like even Overwatch or even Hearthstone. I mean, Hearthstone's expansions alone, I think, are more interesting than a lot of the stuff that happened on all three of these games. So I'm not sure, Mike. Where are you at in terms of wanting to build this final list?
I just want Hearthstone on there. That's the only thing I feel very strong.
I think Hearthstone probably wins, actually.
Yeah.
I don't even know. We don't necessarily even need to have other runners up. Would you want Overwatch as a runner up, or do you feel like its year was that rough?
It wasn't that rough. Like I said, I don't know. It was a little annoying, with specifically that mercy change, and Doomfist is still kind of in a rough state. But I mean, they still have added some pretty good maps. The events are nice. Like I said, the support is good and it's there, and they're never doing anything maliciously.
Yeah, I just, again, I wish
if we need a runner-up, we can throw it in there, sure. But
I think this one might be better off if we just name Hearthstone, and because we don't have to force anything on there. So, all right, cool. I think that worked out well. Yeah, I think that's gonna do it for us. That was 3 topics. I think that's our only 3-topic day. So, I mean, other than the Game of the Year one, where we'll probably take a long time figuring that out. But yeah.
That's going to be a death match that will go on for 48 hours.
At least. But that's coming up in 2 days from now. So stick around for that. Tomorrow we'll have a few more categories. So join us then. I guess we could just tell people where they can find us on the internet, and then we'll get out of here. Mike.
Yo, my name's Mike Naughty, and I am Tolkoto, Tolkoto, on Twitter. You can also find me at the Exploding Barrel Podcast, which I do every week with my brother. That's at ebpodcast.com.
And Stephanie?
Oh, you can find me on Twitter at SweijuChan. That's SWEIJUCHAN. And I also write the Indie Beat column for GamesBeat every Thursday, which highlights like in progress games. So you should definitely reach out to me if you have something that you want to talk about.
And I'm Jeff Grubb on Twitter. I'm Jeffrey Grubb, youtube.com/Jeffrey Grubb on YouTube, twitch.tv/Jeff Grubb. This is embargoed until our Friday right now, but this episode will come out like later this year. Mike and Stephanie, how jazzed are you guys that Phil Fish is doing the interface and like boot up thing for that analog, that super analog NT thing? Did you see this, Mike?
It's so...
I can't contain my excitement, Jeff.
It is dope, though. It's so good. It's like really good.
Yeah. It looks great.
It's totally awesome. Okay, well, I'm gonna that should be coming out in like 2 weeks from now. I'm totally gonna get one. All right, guys, let's end this episode. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for joining us. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.